Thanks. We are studying Bhagavad Gita. Thanks for your participation. Chapter 3, Karma Yoga, Yoga of Action. So we have a little bit of introduction here to the chapter. Specifically, I am highlighting the passage from the Purva Mimamsa to the Uttara Mimamsa, which is also explained in this chapter of Gita, because the ritualistic ceremonies, practices, duties of the three higher varnas are a religious basis for social progress, materially and spiritually. But Bhagavad Gita is giving a higher message. The word Uttara means higher. So the Uttara Mimamsa is higher than the previous Mimamsa, old Mimamsa, the Purva Mimamsa. That was the material process of religion. The difference it is that religion is mostly a material requirement, both for the social health and cooperation, and for the personal development, but it's about the personal development on the material level, which is still very good because contrarily to the Abrahamic ideologies, the Hindu Vedic ideology does not condemn the material world. We know the Vedas are explaining there are 4 Purusharthas: Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. So the first 3 Purusharthas are basically material purposes. Dharma means you know what is your position in the body of the universe, and you support the universal community in your specific function that is called Swadharma. Swadharma refers specifically to the system of Varna Ashrama. Until now, everything is clear, huh?
Yes.
If you have any questions, please let me know. Okay.
Not now.
Okay, good. So, here in this chapter, Krishna will present the passage from the Purva Mimamsa to the Uttara Mimamsa. Means from the material religiosity, material religion, the good karma, the duties of each human being, according to their guna and karma, and will evolve the presentation to the spiritual level of moksha. The purpose of the Bhagavad Gita is mostly to take us to moksha through the path of yoga, bhakti, tantra, which is a spiritual path. It is also religious because we can also practice it in the social environment, but has a different purpose. The purpose is to become liberated. Okay, so the first verse, Arjuna said, O Janardana, O Krishna, Keshava, if in your opinion buddhi, intelligence, is superior to karma, work, why do you want to engage me in this horrible action? Arjuna is still very aware that the battle that is going to start is going to have a major problem. Okay, verse 2. My intelligence is confused by your apparently contradicting words. Please give me one instruction only that will not create doubts and by which I will obtain the best result. So here Arjuna wants to make things very simple. But although the application and the vision can be simple, should be simple, there must be a deep understanding of the implications and the reasons. So Krishna will not tell one thing only, but will explain the entire idea. So we have verse 3. The Lord said, O sinless Arjuna, as I have already explained to you, in this world there are two types of beliefs. Those who follow Sankhya are connected through knowledge, while yogis are connected through action. This is interesting because we know that Sankhya was presented in the previous chapter as Sankhya Yoga. So we need to understand that people who follow Sankhya rather than Sankhya Yoga are just attached to the theoretical knowledge, while those who follow Sankhya Yoga are also putting knowledge in practice, which is one of the main issues today, because many people may have the knowledge, but they're hardly likely to put it in practice. So let's continue. We have verse 4. A person cannot achieve freedom from karma by abstaining from the prescribed action, just like perfection cannot be achieved simply through sannyas, which is renunciation. This is interesting because Arjuna was asking what is best between knowledge and action. So Krishna is telling him that you need to have the proper knowledge that takes you to renunciation, to sannyas, but you also have to work at the same time. So one thing cannot go without the other. 5. Never at any time can a person remain without acting even for one moment, because he is forced into action by all the gunas, tendencies, born from prakriti, which is nature. So we still have some editing that needs to be done, but okay, we do it later on. So this basically means that you cannot attain moksha just by stepping out of your duties. Many people make a show of renouncing, renunciation, sannyas, everything. But in fact, they are just lazy and irresponsible, because they just want all the benefits without the duties. And it's not possible to just survive without working. We have to give something back to the universe. The Karma Kanda section, the Purva Mimamsa Karma Kanda section of the Vedic knowledge, is all about giving to the universe, contributing our work, our part to the good functioning, to the support of the universe. So So if we just choose to renounce that, we need to give the universe a better contribution. We cannot just avoid, drop our duties without giving a better contribution to the community. We have 6. One who controls the senses of action but continues to remain attached to the memory of the sense objects is called a fool and a hypocrite. This, we can, mention the fact that many people in Hinduism get confused by non-compatible ideological superimposition, meaning that they take concepts and approaches and ideas that are not compatible with the Hindu Vedic parameters. For example, the Abrahamic ideas. Then they superimpose these Abrahamic ideas to the Hindu Vedic concepts, and they create monsters. So, for example, we know that Abrahamic ideologies have no respect for nature. They consider nature as something that man should dominate and exploit. And under the category of nature, we have the body, Mother Earth, women, cows and other animals, and it's all beauty. It's all together under the package of nature. So we see, for example, if we go to the very old temples, means temples and vigrahas that were made before the Abrahamic invasions, especially before the Islamic invasions. We'll be surprised sometimes to see that, for example, the deities are not dressed much, especially the iconographic representation of the Mother Goddess. They don't have much clothing. They have lots of ornaments, but not much clothing. Sometimes none at all. So the mind of people who have become confused by the Abrahamic ideology superimposition, they even come to the point of calling these images indecent, adult pictures, pornography even, And that's crazy, because this is totally opposed to the original Hindu Vedic mentality. Hinduism originally is Satyam Shivam Sundaram. Where is the Sundaram? What is Sundaram? If we go and see the ancient paintings, but especially the ancient vigrahas, three-dimensional images, statues of the deities, the beauty of the body of the deity is glorified, is worshipped. There are so many ornaments. One cannot say that, those deities were made in such a way because they were meant to be covered by clothes, by outfits in the process of worship as upacharas. But no, because some clothing is missing, but the ornaments are there. So if the idea is that the deities were portrayed without clothing so that we can put the clothing during the puja, why are there ornaments? So we are supposed to put the clothing over the ornaments? No, this is not, doesn't make any sense. The problem is that the Abrahamic influence has given people the idea that morality means covering up the body. This is definitely not a Hindu Vedic concept. So this is just an example, but it has big repercussions because it connects to the condemnation of the natural physical relationships and the strange idea that sannyas means that a man hates women. Like, a man doesn't want to have any contact with women because women are contaminated, polluted, and they can, just seeing a woman will completely ruin a man. But this is an Abrahamic idea. This is not a Hindu Vedic idea. In fact, the Devadasis and in general the beautiful girls, the Kanyas, were considered a necessary sign of blessing in all religious ceremonies. A man could not perform his religious duties without the presence of the wife. So some of these religious ceremonies were actually performed by the wife of the Karta, the Kartri. So in the Abrahamic religions, women are segregated because they cannot go in the same area of worship where men are. This is not the Hindu system. The Hindu system, there should be no separation. In fact, the presence of women or girls, even if not very dressed, is actually considered an addition of beauty and prosperity and happiness and joy. So, this is what happens. So, someone who has absorbed the toxic Abrahamic ideas thinks that by controlling, by stopping, not engaging in actions, that is the perfection of life. That is called abstinence or celibacy. But that's an Abrahamic concept, because the actual Hindu Vedic concept is brahmacharya. Brahmacharya, the word Brahma Achara means behaving like Brahman. Behaving like Brahman is not repression. It is not self-mortification or depriving oneself from something good. That is a typical Asuric mentality. That is not called brahmacharya, it is called tapas. we see that people who don't have much knowledge perform tapasya that is actually damaging for the body. And Krishna will say later in Gita, in a later chapter, that the austerities that are not based on the scriptures and they cause suffering to oneself or others are not good. Because the austerities in tamas and rajas, and they are typically performed by asuras. Now we have, for example, the story of Dhruva. Dhruva was making tapasya by focusing so much that he forgot to eat. But he was not trying to mortify, to punish his own body. While we have Hiranyakashipu and Ravana, for example, that even allow their bodies to be eaten by ants. You know, like that is specifically, I think it was specifically Hiranyakashipu. So doing this kind of austerities is not intrinsically religious. The word tapasya, tapa, literally means power, energy, focus, heat. Just like we can focus the light of the sun and produce fire through a magnifying lens, by focusing, concentrating our energy, our power, willpower, we can develop a great power. This is the power of tapas, but it is not a spiritual merit. It's just power. So power can be good or can be bad, but it's power. If we want to do proper austerities in sattva and in devotional service, Krishna will explain that the austerities of the body and the speech and the mind are not about depriving oneself from normal, healthy, sattvic pleasures or, nourishment, are different. The austerities of the mind, the speech, and the body are studying the Shastra, offering respect to respectable people, speaking about good things, speaking the truth. These are the actual austerities that are recommended in the Shastra for our spiritual progress. The austerities that people standing on one foot or keeping one arm, up in the air for 20 years, they're not spiritual activities, they're not yoga. They're one type of tapas that is meant to acquire power. We are not sure whether this person is actually a sadhu or an asura. We don't know, because he just wants power. What he is going to do with that power, we don't know. So Krishna here is recommending not to just repress or abstain from the sense activities, the body activities, but he says we need to control. Controlling samyamya means directing deliberately, choosing, making choices, making intelligent choices. So if someone is controlling but abstaining from engaging the senses but continues to remain attached to the memory of the sense objects in a mentality of ahankar and mamatva, like people who do this kind of austerities believe that I'm actually entitled to sense gratification, but I am going to be greater than this, I'm going to be more powerful, so I will control the senses. So I will become an even greater person. This is ego. So we go on and see the next verse, what Krishna is saying. But one who regulates the senses through the mind, engage the senses of action through karma yoga without attachment is much better. So we still have niyama and niyama. Okay, so we have yama means yama and niyama means the rules through which we abstain from some behaviors, some choices, and we engage in some behaviors. So it is a matter of directing the engagement, the the actual choices we make deliberately in full awareness. Okay, so we engage the senses of action through karma yoga without attachment. What is karma yoga? This is the subject of the entire chapter. Krishna will summarize karma yoga when he says yad karoshi, yad asnasi, yad juhosi, dadasi yad. Mad arpana. You do it in a spirit of service to God. And service to God means service to the universal community, to all beings. Krishna will repeat many times in Bhagavad Gita that a real yogi, a real devotee, a real sadhaka needs to work for the benefit of all beings. Not just worshipping God in the deity or in the temple, but working, serving God in working for the benefit of all beings. So next, tell.
As you on this in the previous discussion, what on the mother goddess example you were giving.
Yeah.
So one thing on this verse, like here Krishna mentions that those who engage in karma yoga are much better, right?
Yes.
Yes. Uh, so this better word is like better than karma yoga is somebody who's uh, like constantly in meditation, like is that we can infer from that better word, because best is uh, like the previous word was Krishna was saying that those who just forcibly try to control their senses but they meditate on the sense objects.
Yes.
So but those who control their senses and don't meditate also on the sense objects, are they best
No.
even if they are not
No. Meditating on the sense. Okay, this is a little different. The first category of people who are still attached to the sense object, they abstain from the enjoyment, but they are still attached to the idea that these sense objects belong to him. So still the idea of ahankara and mamatva continue to exist, in the sense that one, for example, you have a wife, you are abstaining from contact with your wife, but it's still your wife. So you don't just let her go free to do whatever she wants. You abstain from contact, but you lock her up.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now, engaging the senses in regulated activities in karma yoga. Karma yoga means that, okay, this is my wife, but she is a jivatma. She is she belongs to God, because the Atman is not my property. It's not anything that I am entitled to control. So I see my wife as a temple of God, because God is in her heart and she is Atman, she is Brahman. So we are living together in the family for the purpose of the benefit of the entire society, of the entire universal community, that translates as devotional service to Krishna. So you can have contacts with your wife, you can take care of your wife, you're not renouncing the wife and going, to be a sannyas somewhere else, but you respect your wife. You don't think that she belongs to you, because belonging means ahankara and mamata. Now, when you regulate the senses through karma yoga, it's not just karma, it's yoga. So karma yoga means uniting to God, with God, through your prescribed duty. And the passages from the material level of doing your duty to family and society and everything, to actually doing your duty to God as a higher and wider identity of the universal community. As the Purusha Sutta is describing, the Purusha is the soul of the universe. The body of the Virat Rupa contains all the bodies, everything that exists, but the soul of the Virat Rupa is the Paramatma. So when we establish relationships and interact with the bodies and objects in this material world, we do it through a sense of duty on two different levels. On the more material level, as a sense of duty to society and to our responsibilities. And at the higher level, the Uttara mimamsa, as a sense of service to God. So the purva mimamsa is service to society, family, and whatever material duties we have, responsibilities. And the Uttara mimamsa is a service to God. So there is no difference between the jnana and the bhakti. Jnana is required for bhakti, and bhakti is required for jnana. It is said that knowledge without devotion becomes dry, is just dry, and devotion without knowledge is just a sentimental approach. So we need both. At some point, when we have attained the Raganuga level of bhakti, we can forget about the specifics of jnana and vairagya. We can actually go beyond jnana and vairagya, but only in a natural manner, genuine manner, not just because we are lazy and irresponsible. So, in this further development of the Raganuga Bhakti, in which we are not so much interested in Jnana and Vairagya anymore, it is because we are under the shelter of Yogamaya. We are not engaged in running after Mahamaya, trying to control Mahamaya anymore. We are surrendered to be controlled by God through Yogamaya. So you see, there is a huge difference. We have to go through bhakti, through jnana and vairagya to get to real bhakti. As Krishna will say, the last chapter, Brahman Bhuta Prasannatma, Nasochati Nakankshati, Savasarvesha Bhutesha, Mad Bhakti, Labhate Param. At that point, we can actually get to bhakti. Okay. You were saying something.
No, yeah, that's what. So it's clear that, like, that better is like karma yoga. That better word was used because uh, instead of contemplating on the sense objects, better is to do karma yoga. And
Yes.
then the question I was asking, like, what is best? So, okay, when we reach to that platform of real bhakti, para bhakti or raganuga, that
Exactly.
it has to go in sequence. We can't simply think, okay, this is best, I'll do that.
Yes,
You cannot stay there if you're not on that level.
we cannot cut corners. One of the worst damage that have been done to the good name of bhakti is the stupid approach, fake it till you make it. I heard this so many times. And then what you get? You get so-called sannyasis who abuse, children. How is that vairagya? It's not vairagya, sorry. That's actually worse. This is coming from the idea, fake it till you make it. You have to show that you're so strong and so renounced, but this is ahankara mamattva. We need to give up ahankara mamattva. It's better to engage in action, perform the dutiful actions, like Krishna is saying here, engaging the senses in the sense object in a regulated, careful, aware, conscious manner by keeping your yoga, yukti, by being yukta, connected to the spiritual consciousness. Because whatever you do without ahankara mamattva. You do it for the benefit of all beings, for the benefit of others. Para upakara. Because service to God cannot be done by harming innocent beings, by exploiting innocent beings, mistreating innocent beings. It's not possible. It's not that, like Abrahamic ideologies say, oh, it's for your good. I have to, give you 100 lashes for your own good because you were not wearing the hijab. What is the good? Sorry? No, doesn't make any sense. Why should God ask you to do something like that? It's totally, absurd. When we want to work for the good, for the benefit of all beings, we treat all beings with respect. We can only apply force against aggressors. That is the only occasion where we can and should apply force to protect ourselves from attacks, protect ourselves and those who depend on us. So not just defend ourselves, but also defend those who depend on us. So our family, our people, our land, our house. Then we can legitimately fight back, even to the extreme application of lethal force. But that is not because God told you that those who don't believe in Him must be destroyed for their own good. That's stupid. So only aggressors. The Shastras make a list of aggressors. We have seen them in a commentary in a verse to a verse of chapter 2. Atataina. When Arjuna mentions Atataina, that is saying that the Kauravas, Duryodhana and his allies are actually aggressors, Atataina. And we need to understand what Atataina means. Atataina means someone who's attacking you for their own selfish motivations of ahankara knowledge. Because they want to take something away from you that belongs to you, that has been allotted to you. For example, the freedom to live in the way you prefer. Of course, without causing harm to others. So, you understand the situation. So, we always need to work for the benefit of all beings. And we need to do that just as a service to the universal community without having any personal motivation. So, that. You want to say something more?
No, no.
Okay. I heard the
Point is clear.
I heard the microphone. Okay, no problem.
So I have another question. This point is clear. The sense of morality which we were discussing against
Yes.
the Hindu versus the old traditional
Yes,
versus the
yes, yes.
Abrahamic interposition. So in that sense, I was just wondering that there often this in intellectuals that debate happens that God created us or we created God. So
Okay.
in the
Okay.
images what we see in
Yeah.
old temples, so is it that based on that morality sense what people had at that time they created based on their understanding at the actual form of God make cannot be comprehended or it's out of reach. It is just that what surroundings or what cultural things were based on that these images were created.
Yes, I think we already had some measure of discussion on this point long time before. Like if we are creating God, if we are projecting our ideas of God. Now, if I remember correctly, we were discussing about this because we need to focus on form. Krishna will say later on, I think chapter 9, say that it's very difficult for the embodied soul, Vehina,
Yeah, chapter 12, I think, is starting 2,
12,
3
yes,
verses.
thanks. It's very difficult to meditate, to contemplate the absolute, the Brahman, without a form. Very difficult. We need to see a form. This is why when Arjuna asked Krishna, how should I meditate on you? Krishna is showing the universal form. All the forms. This means that the form in which we meditate on God, they're not limited by time, space, or individuality. All the forms already exist in God. And God can manifest whatever form we want to see. So, in a sense, yes, we project. Like, for example, the manifestation of Narasingha. You know, the manifestation of Narasingha is a wonderful form that is half man and half lion. Why do we need to see the form like that? Because these archetypes, the archetype of the lion is full of very deep symbolic meanings. Like the lion is the strength, the power, the courage, the king of the animals, the sun, the light, and the loyalty, and the openness and everything. It's a solar symbol, but it's also a symbol of power and destruction and in a sense cruelty, which is it's a bloodthirsty. If not many people have had the opportunity to see a lion eating in the wild, luckily today we have lots of these documentaries and everything of people who are who hide the cameras in the trees and everything, because it's not very hygienic to stay around when a hungry lion is going for lunch. So, but they we can see how the lion is just burying his face into the blood and guts of the animal that he's eating. And this is the Ugra form of God. The Asomya Ugra. God also has this ferocious aspect. It's not the only aspect, because we have the Ugra and the Bhadra, the Somya and Asomya. We need to understand that God is all this. So, whenever we shape a Vigraha of God, of course there are rules, there are points we have to follow from the Shastra, because the Shastras are describing all the most popular, most endearing forms of God. And we should follow the instructions of the scriptures when we make the form of God. For example, we cannot make a form of God, shape a Vigraha that is causing disgust or ridiculous, or something like that, because we want the meditation on the form of God to be favorable. You understand what I'm talking about? So,
Yeah, we already discussed on this many times that
exactly, we
this
discussed.
Ganesha deity during Ganesh Chaturthi.
Exactly. We discussed it before. I remember we discussed it before. Like, for example, especially with Krishna, because Krishna's worship has become extremely popular in the last, 500 years through Chaitanya and the other parallel movements like the Varkaris and, Mirabai and all that. And also in the last 50 years through ISKCON and the Gaudiya Math and everything. So there's Krishna more or less everywhere. Especially ISKCON has established deities of Krishna in all the different parts of the world. And, the Vigras are all colors. Some are black, some are white. Which, a white Krishna is very weird. But still, we see white Vigrahas of Krishna. I've seen, for example, in Manipur, ISKCON Manipur, or in Indonesia, or in other places where people have this particular physical phenotype, like, for example, these almond-shaped eyes and everything. So we find the Krishna Vigraha with, Chinese eyes. Like, okay, yeah, well, they're nice. Because people can be more attracted. And that is not, uh, what to say, an obstacle to the development of bhakti. If we make a, fantasy vigraha that is unfavorable, like I was saying before, causing disgust of hilarity, like, oh, what is that stupid thing? This is ridiculous. Oh, that's so ugly. That's so disgusting. If we do something that is unfavorable to devotional service, that is not good. But whatever is favorable to devotional service, to the development of devotional sentiments, the bhakti rasa, is acceptable. Because Krishna doesn't care if the eyes are rounder or longer. You look at Jagannath. Who has eyes like that? That, like they look like dinner plates, like round, so round, chakadola, what to say, the round eyes, wheel shape eyes. That's weird, but it's endearing because it gives us the impression of someone who is in ecstasy. When you are in ecstasy, you have a very strong feeling of emotion. Your eyes become round, like surprise, for example. When someone is surprised, you see the eyes take a round shape, because they open completely. And the mouth becomes bigger because they smile more. The smile is stretching the mouth, And this is the reason why the form of Jagannath is so extraordinary. Because it shows God in ecstasy. So it's the ecstasy, it's a bhava. The intense feeling of the sentiment, like the Vedas is a rasa vaisa. The Purusha is a feeling, is sentiment. So Krishna has the most intimate feelings. And Jagannath has the most intense feelings. Are you following what we're talking about? What I'm saying?
Yeah.
Any elaboration on this?
Uh, so one thing, like as you said during the starting on the explanation, that God can take any form based on devotees' bhava, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
So how to differentiate between like whether it's uh, like actually somebody is seeing God or it's hallucinating himself? Because mind can also
Yeah,
generate
yeah,
like the forms
yeah,
which you meditate on.
yeah. That is why we need knowledge. We need the knowledge of Shastra, and we need to have our mind as free as possible from ahankara and mamatva, from attachments, beliefs, and you know needs or fears or whatever. The point is that our mind should be completely clean. The example is like a perfectly clear water in a pond. We need to liberate ourselves from all conditionings. Then we can truly see the form of God. That can be a bit of difference from person to person, because there is the personal rasa that is not due to the material conditioning. it's a spiritual personality. We still have a spiritual personality. It's not that at liberation we lose all personality. We are just nothing. The material personality is dissolved into the spiritual personality. But spiritual personality is there. We have individual taste, individual relationship with God. It's not limited by a material identification. So we don't have limits. We can expand it. We are not attached to anyone, any particular thing or form. But we still have our Ishtadeva. We still have our taste. God is tasting the rasa. So this is why up to a healthy point, it is okay to project the form of God that we want to see. Up to a point, up to a healthy point, because this is the key, this is the secret. Up to a certain point it's healthy. After that point it becomes sour, it becomes bad, it becomes an obstacle. It's just like about eating, we need to eat a certain amount of food in quality and quantity, which is good, because if we don't eat anything, Krishna is saying, one cannot practice yoga if they eat too little or too much. So we need to eat something. But the moment we have eaten enough, we should stop there. We cannot go on and try to eat too much, take too much. Atyahara prayasascha. Now this is the Bhakti Shastra. Atyahara means taking too much. We need to remain humble enough to know when our meditation on God is devotional and when it becomes egotic. This, for example, yes.
Come again. What second thing you told?
When it becomes egotic, selfish, based on the
Okay.
hankara.
Okay.
Like, for example, in Bhakti Shastra, one of the requirements in the rules of devotional service listed in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, if I'm not mistaken, says that it is part of devotional service to offer God things that we like. Right? You remember something like that?
Yeah.
So, of course, there is a limit. Because if we like something, it's very good that we offer it to God, because it's a favorable meditation. But if what we like is horrible, it's tamasic, it's rotten, we really need to review our ideas, because we shouldn't offer that to the deity. You understand? It's only Dhumavati who accepts, the Uchishta. We cannot offer anything to any form of God, because even if we like it, it's not a good idea. We have to go through jnana, through sufficient knowledge, sufficient understanding, sufficient humility, sufficient detachment, not to put our ahankara and mamatva too much. It's like salt, A little salt is good because it gives more taste to food. If you put too much salt, it's, becomes very unhealthy. Bad, distasteful and unhealthy. So, we can see in the past, like in the present, we have the vigrahas The vigors of the deities do not change much, because there are specific iconographic requirements. Like Vishnu has this 4 ayudha, this chakra, shankha, gada, padma. If you want to meditate on Vishnu with more arms, you can also add the sharinga bow, and you can add whatever, but you cannot put things that don't correspond to the descriptions of the Shastra. You cannot put the skull, for example, in Vishnu's hand, because that doesn't sit there. You understand? So you cannot put
Yeah.
things that don't it is called, in the Bhakti Shastra, it's called rasabhasa. Means superimposition of different incompatible rasas. We need to know what is what, so that we don't become whimsical in our meditation. Okay, so yeah, let's see. The verse 8. Let's see. Okay, verse 9.
Should we continue or you?
I think we can continue. Let's see, up to. Okay, we start. Okay, no, we continue next time from verse 9, because it starts talking about the yagyas, and verse 10 is and Prajapati originally manifested the prajas with the yagya, blah blah. So we have all the yagya, the purva mimamsa thing. Okay, so we can be there. Okay, so thank you very much. We'll